This is Changemakers Circle on Click Naija Online Channel. My name is Ehi Ohiani and I'm welcoming you to this show, the show where we talk about how to optimize and bring out the best of development professionals in Nigeria and around the world. And Changemakers Circle is being brought to you by Skill Hub Consulting. Skill Hub Consulting is that organization that is out there helping development professionals and practitioners to be the best at what they do. So today on Changemakers Circle, we are talking something that is as interesting as we always get. Today we are talking about sustainability plan for NGOs. We want to look at thriving beyond the founder of those organizations, of those NGOs. So today in the studio, I have Brenda Anugwom. It is awesome and such a delight to have you with me in the studio today, Brenda.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
So let me tell you a little bit about Brenda. She is currently the CEO of the Nigerian Women Trust Fund. She's a distinguished leader with over 2 decades of dedicated service in the fields of justice, gender equality, and social development. She is a champion for women's rights, political participation, and social development. She has held key positions in other leading organizations, including Doctors Without Borders. She's a procurement legal expert and a speaker and a facilitator. Brenda, nice to have you in the studio.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So we are looking at sustainability beyond the founder. In your view, what has it been like in the civil society space in terms of, civil society organizations, NGOs, and sustainability? How would you place it or rate it?
Thank you so much. I must say it's a pleasure to be here and to talk about this because the organization where I work with right now, Nigerian Women Trust Fund, I work as the CEO, has had 4 different CEOs, number 4, and since its inception. And it's a matter of structure, having the right structure, having the right people as well. And that is where meritocracy comes in. In your selection of leaders in any organization, meritocracy should be one of the key elements to consider. And that is because you want a certain person who will step in with professionalism from the onset. For instance, as I came in and took over the leadership of the organization, I have already started making plans for what my legacy will be, what it is I want to leave for the next person who is coming. So for organizations, NGOs, CSOs, whatever I want to call ourselves, for you to talk about sustainability, you need to be sure that you have a proper structure. For instance, we have a term. You have to be in office. You know that term is written. It's part of your contract, what you agree to. You keep to the term. When you're done with it, another person is taken. So that structure is good. And then, of course, meritocracy. You need to select somebody who already starts from day one to plan on how it will look when the next person is coming and be able to, keep the organization running. So in that way, you have your sustainability plan will just be multiplying and as you move on.
Okay. Who's responsible for this structure? Do you come in and try to put that structure in place, or should this be something that is already existing?
So the organization was set up by the Ministry of Women Affairs with support from the United Nations. So at the onset, everything was put on ground. There's a structure, the women, stakeholders, both men and women. When I say women, we also have the he for she, those male champions, where they were brought together around the table, and together they designed the way this organization is supposed to work. And from beginning, the CEO has to have a term of office. And, they're designed in such a way that you can renew after the first term, but then you can only renew once. and it stays there. So it started from the onset, the way it was designed by the people who founded the organization in 2011.
Okay, so it's interesting to note, but is this really the case with NGOs generally? Because we also have NGOs that are founded by individuals who are at the head of whatever it is that they're doing, they're passionate about it, and they basically do not have a tenure. Um, so is this really what is obtainable presently in NGOs?
You know, you're totally right. If you're a founder, your organization is your baby. You know, you want to see it grow and become whatever you want it to become. But if you really are looking for an organization where sustainability will be part of what it's known for, you need to start from beginning, from day one, to couch a plan, have a succession plan, because you cannot, stay somewhere forever. There's a transition at all times. So you can give yourself, okay, I'm founding this organization, I'll give myself the first 10 years or the first 20 years or the first, and then afterwards I'll hand over to some other person. And now that's where the use of board of trustees, board of advisors, board of directors come into play. You put together eggheads, people who are very experienced in this sort of business. You put them together around the table and you come up with a plan. And then you keep following the plan and you adjust as you move on until you are able to, pass on the baton to the next person. But a succession plan is always key at the very beginning. And again, having the right people around the table.
Do you see this as a problem presently in the civil society space?
So, well, it could come in as a challenge here and there where you have organizations without this plan from the onset. So at a particular time, they become sit-tight leaders and they don't want to move. And sometimes, if to start with the plan while the organization is running, you find out that you have to make certain changes, it can affect certain things. But if it had started from the beginning, you know that at one particular time, I will hand over to someone. You start working working on it from day one. So if it poses a challenge, if there was no plan, no structure from beginning, and then along the line you are now struggling with it, and that becomes a little challenge.
Okay, so even when there's a structure, but how difficult or how easy is it to get a fit for that position? Because when someone is passionate about what he has founded, he or she can really have standards that are probably unattainable, So yes, how should organizations be able to find or define who fits this position?
So you see, that was why when we started, I mentioned two things. I mentioned structure, I mentioned meritocracy. Meritocracy should be, again, as you put sustainability, a plan ahead, you should also be looking for, like you said, the person who fits. You don't look at where the person is from, whose brother or sister it is, all those kind of things. Nepotism should be, in the back burner. Who is the person who can fit? And if it's somewhere or a space you've been working in for the past 10, 20 years, you should know the key players. There are key players there. There are people who are there who have certain skills. And like I said, that's where the use of having a board comes in. If you have the right people on the board, you should be able to set a structure of getting the right people to work and take over the reign of affairs when you finally hand over.
Talking about the board, I don't know if it was, I don't know if it's for NGO, but I think I've seen situations where the owner is feeling threatened by the board, being on sat by by the board. So the owner then begins to consider putting people that they know that will not give them problem in that board.
Again, it depends on you, the founder of the organization. What do you want for your organization? You want rubber stamp board that you tell left and they all move, all right. You need people who will bring something to the table. If you have nothing to bring to the table, then you shouldn't be a member of the board. So board of advisors, it's good to have strong board of advisors, people who are independent minded as well. Because if you have people that you have to, at each point in time, be able to do something that will affect their decision, and they're like rubber stamp, like I said in the first place, I don't think they will give you the right advice that will help you build their organization. So board of trustees, board of advisors, board of directors, they're very good for an NGO.
Okay, so let's talk about the challenges that comes with those transitionings. Um, you're presently at the Nigerian Women, Trust Fund. Using your own example, what were the challenges you faced transitioning, coming on board and getting into that role?
Thank you so much for that question. So how would you feel if I told you there was no challenge? You see a job opening, you apply, you come for interview, and you're selected. And that's how it's supposed to be. And that's what I'm saying when I said meritocracy. Don't look at where the person is from, whether they are related to you or maybe some top official. Put it out there. You want to get a director, you advertise. Put all the qualities you want out there. If the person meets, fine. You speak with them. And for me, we had to have 3 stages of interview. I was interviewed by the board of directors, I was interviewed by the board of advisors, then I was interviewed also by the HR company that they commissioned this, the recruitment process to. So I went through the phase of interviews, and again, that's how it's supposed to be. So I don't see that as a challenge, I see that as a process of selecting the best for the job.
The whole thing around nepotism, and all that, or tribalism. But is there anything wrong with having a succession plan for someone within your family, like your child?
You know what? I don't think anything is wrong with that. If you have a family business, so what? Why not? Why can't your child, your sister or brother run the place? If that's
is it good for a development organization?
It depends on who is coming. If it's your son, is your son ready for the job? Is your son qualified? Not just in terms of academics. Is your son able to run the organization? If it's your brother, is your brother able to run the organization? Are they all going to be able to keep their eyes on the objectives, the reason why the organization was set up, and will they be able to meet the standard? So again, meritocracy doesn't really mean you must pick a stranger. If it's your brother that can do the job, why not? I mean, maybe it's a family business. But sometimes it depends on the kind of organization. Because some organizations where you have the donor community involved, they may be suspicious if you're trying to convert it into a family thing. They don't want taxpayers' money from another country to pay for your family business. So they may insist that it has to be another person entirely to continue running the organization if you still want them to be funding you. So I think it depends on, again, the structure, how you want it, and who are the stakeholders.
Okay, so you occupying the position which you occupy now, did you have pleasant surprises when you came in?
Well, no. I'd moved from organization to organization, so I've been used to the recruitment process. So it's the same deal. The only difference is, of course, you have different sets of questions because of what the organizations are doing. My immediate past employment was in East Africa with MSF, Doctors Without Borders, and it was a different set of responsibility. So they had different sets of criteria that they wanted for the person, and there were no surprises. It's the same process. You get recruited, and if you scale through, then you get the job.
What are some of the mistakes that founders make when it comes to sustainability plan and succession plan?
So founders make the very critical mistake from the onset. From beginning, you want to start this organization. You've laid out the objectives. There has to be a transition plan. You must have that um, from the very beginning. You must be able to give yourself a certain amount of time. Within this time, I would have stabilized this organization. I would have gotten the kind of donors that I wanted on board, and should be able to move it, transition, get some other person to continue rather than being a sit tight leader. So it's the plan that it's that's where everything lies. If you don't plan from the onset, you may run into difficulties in between. And like they always say, failure to plan is planning to fail. So again, it's the planning from the onset. That's the key. You plan and then you start making your transition from day one, even if it takes you 10 to 20 years. It's just the plan.
In this our climbs, when you start talking about your transition plan, or I mean, even when someone makes mention of something like that, and then the person will ask you, you don't they chase me? I never start, and you, that's the thinking. Absolutely. Here. But let's unpack this plan itself. What should be included in this plan for an NGO? In a succession plan, what are the ingredients that any NGO should, look at and make sure that it's in there?
So there are key elements, and a plan must lay out objectives. And I will always advise anybody, don't go the journey alone. That's why it's good to have board of advisors or board of trustees or board of directors, whatever you want to call them, to have key thinkers in the room with you, around the table with you, so that you can all share experiences. You can get several different kinds of advice from different kinds of people. So have the element of, this is how long I'm starting this organization, but this is how long I want to sit and pilot this organization for. And as I'm leaving, I want this sort of person to take over. You determine that from the beginning with this group of people. And of course, there is no board that is permanent. So if you have a board of advisors or directors that help you start the organization, definitely they will stay their term, and then another set of people will come. But you will have to ensure the right people are in the group. So you have the plan of, these are my objectives. I need to set this organization up. This is what we want it to cure, because NGOs are usually there to tackle a certain societal issue. This is what we're going to be focused on. This is what we're going to be working on. And this is how we want to take on staff, personnel, and let them learn on the job. It's possible that one of the people you take up from beginning may succeed you, or maybe an outsider, depending on the plan you make. But again, these two or three things, if you map out the objectives, mark out how long you intend to, because you give yourself a target. Even if it's 10 years, it's a target, and you work towards it. Even if you go beyond it 15 years, if you work towards it, definitely you will achieve something at the end.
Can that change? When you give yourself a time, maybe it's things possible. Are not playing out.
The country may be unstable. Anything can happen. If you just give yourself, if everything is constant, this is the number of years I wish to be here, and then I'll move on to another person. I'll move on to somewhere else and let someone else steer the ship. Or this is how long I want to be as the sole proprietor or whatever, and afterwards I take on people and form a partnership. It depends on what you see the organization becoming in the future. Again, it starts with that initial plan and with your stakeholders who eventually become your board.
Which do you advise to groom, a successor from amongst your team, or to get somebody from outside, totally independent, like recruit somebody afresh? Which would you advise?
You know what? I think it depends on the situation. Sometimes it's good the person works with you and learns the ropes with you early on and just instantly blends in when they take over. Sometimes you want a different perspective, a fresher idea, and you bring someone else, maybe depending on the person's past records elsewhere. So it depends on the situation, actually. I wouldn't settle for any because it depends on the situation I find myself. If I find myself in a situation where someone inside with me is capable, I would advise, oh, why not? But if a situation where I see if you are coming from within, you may be biased because you have formed cliques with certain people inside, and you may not be partial. You may not be impartial as the head of an organization. Then you need an independent, fresh mind from outside to come in.
Okay, so just as I'm about to wrap up, amongst your team, how should NGOs or leaders in NGOs build that spirit amongst their team to make them want to, take ownership of the vision, as not just seeing it as if they're there just to earn,
to get paid at the end of the month.
which of course is primary, yes.
Yeah.
But when we talk about succession plan, you have to start thinking beyond that. So how can um, heads or leaders of NGOs build that in their team?
Thank you very much. That is very important, especially if you're thinking of having someone within to succeed you as a leader or the owner of an NGO. First of all, I would always say respect every member of your staff, whether they are PhD holders or they maybe don't have degrees. Everybody is useful. You need the cleaner so that your office will be clean and you're able to work. You need the accountants, you want your books straight. You need the program people because some people have to implement. So respect every staff and then motivate your staff members. It's not that every time something comes up, if it's something that will benefit a human being, you the owner, you jump and take it and neglect them. Because they're also human beings, they also have families that they take care of. So motivate them. And everybody's opinion counts. You don't push anybody aside because you feel they don't know anything. Sometimes it is the advice of that person who is the cleaner. There may be something that can, make the change. So you respect everybody, motivate your staff, and everybody's voice matters. If you do that, you will encourage any human being, and they will not want to leave you, and they will do anything for you as a leader. And you actually need loyalty in an organization.
I think finally, I'm curious. I would want to know what, success stories of NGOs that we can make reference to and say, oh, okay, this have transitioned successfully, and other NGOs can look at and learn from.
So I'm going to choose Nigerian Women Trust Fund. Yeah, because we've had, from inception, we've had...
Coming from you.
And it's been only women. And with this conspiracy theory that women don't work together, we do cat fights, it's been only women, and it's been stable, and there's been no scandal. In fact, another organization had, last year, had called on us to come talk about how we do it. What is the magic? Because you hear of people who are, leaders who are fighting each other to take over, women who are supposed to be fighting according to the conspiracy theorists. So we've shown that women can work together. We've shown that you can transition successfully, smoothly, scandal-free, and the work is going on. And we've worked with several international organizations, donors, and there hasn't been any that has regretted working with us. So NWTF, Nigerian Women Trust Fund, is a good example. I think people should emulate us.
Okay, so we'll take that from you, and I would say congratulations.
Thank you.
On the work you're doing and the impact that you are making out there, especially with women and development in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I truly appreciate it.
Today on Changemakers Circle, I've been speaking with Brenda Anugwom. She is the CEO of the Nigerian Women Trust Fund. She's a legal practitioner, she is a speaker and a facilitator, and she is definitely a leader and a change maker herself. Brenda, thank you for your time. It's been a delight speaking with you.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate it.
Changemakers Circle is being brought to you by Skill Hub Consulting, an organization that is set out to help development practitioners in every aspect of their work to actualize their goals and their objectives. Until next time, my name is Ehi Ohiani. Bye for now.